Psalm chapter 22, through the Bible, Part 3. Father, forgive them. Will you look at that victim on the cross? His suffering is intensified by that brutal mob and hardened spectators that are beneath him. Look through his eyes and see what he sees. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, He trusted on the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. Psalm 22 verses 7 and 8. Some criminals have been so detested that they have been taken from jail and lynched by a mob. But while the criminal was being executed, the mob would disperse. Tempers were cooled and emotions were assuaged. But not this crowd. I think the lowest thing that ever has been said of religion was said of these Pharisees when the Lord Jesus Christ was dying. And sitting down they watched him there. Matthew 27 verse 36. You have to be low to do that. In fact, you cannot get lower than that. The venom and vileness of the human heart were being poured out like an open sewer as they remained there and ridiculed him in his death. After a snake has put its deadly fangs into its victim and emitted its poison, it will slither away in the grass. But not this crowd, not the human heart in rebellion against God. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23 verse 34. If he had not said that, this crowd would have committed the unpardonable sin. But they did not. He asked forgiveness for their sin. We know that the centurion in charge of the execution was saved, and a whole company of Pharisees, including Saul of Tarsus, who probably were in this crowd, were saved. Woman, behold thy son. Now as he looks over the crowd, he sees not only eyes of hate and antagonism, but he sees eyes of love. He sees his mother with John down there. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother. John 19 verse 25. As Jesus looks at her, do you want to know what went on in his heart? He went back to Bethlehem at the time he was born, and he says to the Father, But thou art he that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breasts. I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly. Psalm 22 verses 9 and 10. Woman, behold thy son. John 19 verse 26. Yonder at the wedding at Cana in Galilee, she had asked him to do something to show that he was the Messiah, that she was right when she said he was virgin born. She wanted him to reveal himself at this wedding. His answer to her at that time was, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. John 2 verse 4. But there, hanging on the cross, Woman, behold thy son. His hour has come. The reason for his coming into the world is now being accomplished. This is the most important hour in the history of the world. Then his attention moves back to those who are doing the crucifying. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round. Psalm 22 verse 12. Describing these soldiers that were crucifying him, he says they are like the bulls of Bashan. But he does not stop with that, for he is being devoured by wild animals. That is what his tormentors had become. They gaped upon me with their mouths, as a ravening and a roaring lion. Psalm 22 verse 13. He is talking about Rome now. Rome crucified him. He compares them to a roaring lion, for the lion was the picture of Rome. Now notice his condition. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in the midst of my bowels. Psalm 22 verse 14. This accurate description of crucifixion is remarkable when you consider that crucifixion was unknown when this psalm was written. The Roman Empire was not even in existence, and it was Rome that instituted crucifixion. Yet here is a picture of a man dying by crucifixion. I am poured out like water, the excessive perspiration of a dying man out in that sun. All my bones are out of joint. The horrible thing about crucifixion is that when a man began to lose blood, his strength ebbed from him, and all his bones slipped out of joint. That is an awful thing. It was terrible, terrible suffering. Then he says something that is indeed strange. My heart is like wax. He died of a broken heart. Many doctors have said that a ruptured heart would have produced what John meticulously recorded. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. John 19 verse 34. Let me paraphrase that. I saw that Roman soldier put the spear in his side, and there came out blood and water. Not just blood, but blood and water. John took note of that and recorded it. May I say to you, Jesus died of a broken heart.